Hi, this is Scott Bywater for another Facebook Live, and I'm planning to do a bit of a longer Facebook Live today, and really talking about some of the things I've learnt and been sort of discussing and thinking about over the past month or so. So the first thing I want to talk about is a friend of mine sent me an article a while ago, and it was in regards to tomato gardens as they appear in marketing or as they come from marketing. And as you can see, I've got quite a bit to cover today. I've made a few notes, so we're coming at it quite strategically. And the way of looking at it from marketing as a tomato garden perspective is whenever you put a seed in a tomato into the garden, you're basically from an investment sort of perspective. So if you're looking at yourself as, hey Teresa, how are you? If you're looking at yourself as an investor from that sort of perspective, you're saying, I'm going to put a little bit in here to get a much higher return on investment. And that's what we're looking to do. And where I believe we make a mistake in marketing is in putting too few seeds in, or in terms of marketing. Andrew just said, "Is this the call you brushed me for?" I was just chatting with him. I've got Julie online too, Andrew. So we're doing a joint thing. This is like a longer, more comprehensive Facebook Live. So this is basically so in terms of the tomato garden, we want to go broad, and then we want to bring it in to the specific. So we want to do everything and go broad and then specific. And what do I mean by that? So if you're starting up a business, or if you're in a business and you're like, hey, I want to generate some leads, I want to start to get some momentum with the stuff that I'm actually doing, we'll go broad first. Try different things. Try something on Facebook. Try something on Google AdWords. Try something on, try direct mail. Go in and do some Instagram stuff. Do a lot of things. Obviously, not going too broad, because then you're gonna miss the point. But going broad enough to try a number of different things and see what works. So it's much like planting seeds into a tomato garden. You're going to plant lots of seeds now, and at all the time, those seeds are going to be at different points of fruition. So if you imagine as a tomato gardener, there'll be time when you look at a plant and you'll see green plants, and then you'll also see tomatoes that are ready to pluck, and then you'll see tomatoes that are about halfway there, and you don't know, as you're planting them, if each of those tomatoes are going to be ready. So the secret with marketing is to be having a lot of seeds, and you've got different points of fruition, and the fruition time is when you actually pluck those seeds. If you look at this from a sales perspective, specifically, so from a sales perspective, you might have lots of different potentials in your funnel, and you've got no idea when they're going to be red, when they're going to turn into a red ripe tomato. So the key is to be planting lots of them, taking little bets and throwing a lot of things at the wall to see what actually sticks. Is really key with this. And then from there, as a stage 2, once we've done stage 1, we want to be asking the question, what's working, what's not, what's next? So we plant all these seeds, these potential seeds, and then we say, okay, so what's working is that, gee, this Google AdWords campaign's taking off, this other one isn't. So I'm going to focus more and more time, energy, money, investment on this, Google AdWords campaign, for example. And then you might look at it and go, oh, what's not working? Okay, so this Facebook campaign, it isn't working. Let's perhaps shuffle it. Do we keep going with it? Do we get rid of it? So you're constantly asking this question and going back, what's working, what's not, what's next. And it's obviously a balance. Like there's some things that you need to continue on with and you need to stick with. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this when he did Wine Library TV, and for the first 6 months, no one cared, or the first so many episodes, no one cared. And then it started to get traction and it started to actually work and started to actually, be, effective. So there's a caveat there that sometimes, patience matters as such. So as I'm going through this, Julie, just let me know, have you got any questions? I'm doing this. I've got Julie on GoToMeeting. You can't see her. But just, is there any questions you've got on anything I've discussed so far?
No, I'm all good so far. Thank you.
No, excellent. So, and if anyone else has any questions, throw it in there. And that way we make this as interactive a process as we possibly can to really, get you, to make it direct to your specific needs. So the other thing, we can look at is the whole concept of optionality in networks. So, and what I mean by optionality in networks is that, let's say as a network, the more people you're connected to, obviously who the right people, the more likely a result is going to come as a result of that with optionality in networks. Now, by the same token, if we look at, things like, things such as, if we look at things such as, let's say you've got an email list. Well, if you're sending out, thousands of emails on a week-to-week basis, then the odds are you don't know each one of those emails is like a tomato seed that you're sending out. So each one is a tomato seed. You don't know which one's going to turn into a tomato. But the key is that you're consistently planting those seeds, in order to see which one actually comes up. And it costs you less to plant that seed. So you're not making major investments. It's costing you less to plant that seed than you're going to get in terms of, a return on investment from that. So recently, to give you an example of this broad to specific, it applies to marketing on any medium. So you've got the macro, which is, hey, we'll do Facebook, we'll do Google, we'll do direct mail, we'll see what's working. But recently I've started the Google AdWords campaign. And what my Google guy does is he goes very broad to start with. So he will basically go, very broad in terms of, the search terms, the countries, etc., to see what clicks, and then he will 80-20 it down. So he will go broad, and go, oh, does this work? Does that work? Does this work? Does that work? Oh, here's what's working. Then he will do an analysis of it and go, what's working? What's not? What's next? And then zone in and zone down on the specific strategies that are actually getting the results and that are actually working. And I think that's really, really critical, is if you can zone down on that, sort of thing. So if we look at this, broad then 80-20, broad then 80-20, broad then 80-20, that's basically what we want to be looking at doing, because you don't know what's going to work. You don't know which strategy exactly is going to take off. So if you throw in and you go, I'm just going to go for this strategy, and it doesn't take off, well, then you've missed out. You've missed out on a huge, opportunity as a result of, of doing that. So really keep that, in mind as a factor with everything that you're, everything that you're doing. Because there's a thing as randomness, and there's a guy called Nicholas Taleb, and he's quite, I don't know how you would explain him, but in some ways quite an eccentric character. But he wrote this book called Fooled by Randomness, and I read it recently. And it's basically that you actually don't know what strategy is going to work. And he gives an example. He says, sometimes you might look at someone and you might look at their incredible success. So he's a trader. So he gives an example in the trading niche. But he says, someone who's doing really well in the trading niche, they might have had 10 successes all in a row. But that does not mean that they're an amazing trader. He says out of every 1,000 traders, and I feel like he breaks it down mathematically, you're going to get one that throws 6 sixes in a row or 10 sixes in a row. So that does not mean, and the point with this is sometimes you'll start off with a campaign and you'll hit a success, and good luck to you. But what you're better off doing is taking into account randomness, testing out a number of strategies and testing out a number of ideas and seeing what is actually most effective, for you. Is LinkedIn most effective? Is Facebook most effective? Etc., etc., etc. So any comments on anything or anything that's going through your mind now, Julie, in terms of anything I've missed or how I could, really zone in on a particular point?
Well, no, the main thing here, I think, is that if you've got all those strategies out there, you can't then not measure it, because otherwise you actually won't know. Like we said in the past, if you're going to put 3 or 4 or 5 different aspects up there and try and market with them, you have to go back and measure them afterwards. Because I think what we tend to do in business is think up a bunch of strategies, put them up there, get a result. We don't really know what the result was or why we got it, and then we move on to something else.
Yes, no, great distinction. So, and Julie's absolutely right. What we need to be doing is we need to then be, measuring everything. So we need to be measuring and going, oh, did that work? No, did that work? Did that work? Did that work? Did that work? That's basically what we need to be doing. We need to be getting into the specifics of it and getting the data. So the short-term play is go in there and we get the data. We dive in and we look at how did this work? How did that work in terms of return on investment? And then we zone in what works, what didn't, what's next on what actually is working and what actually is effective. So you could do this in a similar way. I mean, if you're doing, let's say, something as simple as Facebook posts, you might go down initially, 10 or 20 different angles to see what gets the hook, to see what engages your target market. And then once you've found what engages your target market, you can then zone in on that very, very specifically. So that's definitely something which is worth doing. Now I want to segue into another topic now, which is the topic of hormones and flow. And what I mean by this, I'm doing a course at the moment on advanced learning. And one of the things that talks about in that course about advanced learning is, it talks about the state of flow. And there's a guy called, I forget his name, but you can look it up, Mahal, I can't remember the exact name, but if you look up the flow book, it'll give it to you. So this guy who wrote the book Flow, one of the things that he talks about is that, in terms of finding flow, your biggest enemy is distraction. So in terms of finding flow, I just want to repeat that. In terms of finding flow, which is maximum productivity, maximum happiness, maximum joy with what we're doing, our biggest enemy is distraction. And now where do we find ourselves in the 21st century? The place we find ourselves in the 21st century is it's basically the century of distraction. That's basically the century that we're doing. I mean, if you're on a Facebook Live call right now, you may well be right now distracted. So that's just a point of it. But in terms of being the century of distraction, what happens? I'll show you something here. So I'll show you something here. Now, I don't know if you can read that or not, but what this basically says is 8:17 a.m. this morning. Okay, 8:17 a.m. Not sure if you can see that. Good. I've started to measure this. So 8:17 a.m. I had an urge to check Google. 8:19 a.m. I had an urge to check Facebook regarding a lead that was on there. 8:21 a.m. I had an urge to check LinkedIn. Okay, so I am getting motivated to check all of these things at different times throughout the day. Now, this is where it comes in. This is actually fascinating, because then I stopped having that urge or that desire, 9:06 a.m. until 9:06 a.m. and I had the urge to look up my email. Then at 9:13 a.m. I had the desire to look up Facebook. Then 9:15 a.m. I had a desire to look up something else. I can't read my own writing, so then I had a break. 10:04 a.m. I had a break from actually having an urge to look up this stuff. I had an urge to look up Facebook, and 10:12 a.m. I had an urge to check my email. Now, what this basically says, this is a really powerful information, because if you think of a sugar addiction, okay, so an addiction to sugar, when you're addicted to sugar, okay, you have a piece of chocolate, you feel like more 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 chocolate. You're constantly feeling like chocolate. But then you have a break, like right now, that could be me at 8 o'clock tonight. I have a piece of chocolate, and then I'll be like, I want more, 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 more. But then right now, I have no desire. I have absolutely no desire for chocolate right now. But if I have a piece, I will. The same goes if you check Facebook, if you check email, if you check Google AdWords. And the problem with this, the big problem with this is it takes you out of the flow. And then it takes, I think the statistics were, I read them last night, it takes about 25 minutes, I think it's 12 or 25 minutes, once you break the flow to get back into it. So imagine here, I've got 8:17, 8:19, 8:21. Imagine I was jumping on and eating a piece of chocolate at each of those times. Then I want more and I want more and I want more. And before long, my day is stuffed. That's basically what happens. Before long, my day's stuff, it's wrecked, I'm unproductive, and I'm losing time because of that. And that's really, really critical. I believe there's another book. Oh, that book. Thank you, Pete. Pete said it's Mihaly, or you can read it there on Facebook Live. Mihaly, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name, but that's his name. And so what we've got there is we lose flow. And flow is the superpower of the 21st century. There's another book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. Highly recommend you read it. But he talks about the same thing. Like right now, the superpower of the 21st century is the ability to deny the addiction to distraction. This is the superpower of the 21st century. You deny that addiction to distraction, because if you don't, what do you have to offer? You won't develop the specificity of quality skill set in order to do that. You won't be able to, grow your business like you could if you can master this aspect of deep work. Now, I know there's different people doing work, like if you're in sales all the time, or you don't necessarily doing deep work, but for a large context, that deep work is really, really super critical. So just keep that in mind. Is that, because what happens is all of these things trigger hormones. And if you do some research into hormones, it's absolutely, it's absolutely fascinating. But they trigger hormones. And, if you're stressed, it really lets you down if you're actually going into a space of stress. Because when you go into our greatest power in the 21st century is our ability to think as well. I know I said it was deep work, but in addition to that, it's our ability to actually think and to make good decisions. Now, if we go into stress, we get cortisol, and it shuts our IQ down. It squashes our IQ when we go into stress. So how do we go into stress? See, if we're distracted all the time, we're not productive. If we're not productive, we're not getting the sales come through. If we're not getting the sales come through, then cash flow sucks, and that causes stress. And it's an ongoing cycle. Is basically what it is. It's an ongoing cycle. So that's really, really critical. So what we want to do, there's a really good book I can recommend called The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. Yeah, and let me just quote a few really good things. Very powerful quotes. I'm just trying to find the ones that I'm after, because often, if I don't know if you've heard the saying, but if you want a good idea, read an old book. If you want a new idea, read an old book. Here's something he says, okay? Here's something he says in here. He says, I sometimes ask executives who pride themselves on their memory to put down their guests as to how they spend their own time, and I challenge you to do the same. Then I lock these guests away for a few weeks or months. In the meantime, the executives run an actual time record on themselves, okay? There is never much resemblance between the way these men thought they used their time and their actual records. Okay, so start to do this where you're noting down how you're actually spending your time on a day-to-day basis, and then start to actually run a time record on yourself. Okay, this is critical, because and the biggest problem now is information overload, and we're pulled in all these different directions, and we're not doing the deep work. This is a challenge with the 21st century, and if you can't do all that, you can't get the marketing. I know it's about marketing, but you can't get the marketing you need it undone. Even if you're diverting it, you don't have time to strategize it, because you've got to, you do it and put your time in large chunks. You probably can't read that, but it says to be effective, every knowledge worker, and especially every executive, therefore needs to be able to dispose of time in fairly large chunks. That's what you need to do. To have small dribs and drabs of time at his disposal will not be sufficient, even if the total is an impressive number of hours. So chunk time, not distraction time, not like, hey, I've got Skype open, I've got Facebook open, ding, 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 I got a message, I got to go in there and check it. We've got to move away from that. We've got to move away from that and get into that, and he talks about decision making here. This is brilliant. Time in large, continuous and uninterrupted units is needed for such decisions as whom to put on a task force, set up to study a specific problems, what responsibilities to entrust to the manager or of a new organisation unit, or to the new manager of an old organisational unit. So that's this has been around forever, but in today's modern age, it's getting tougher and tougher, to actually, pull this, to actually manage it and to look after our time. Because 30 years ago, or whenever this book was written, we didn't need to worry about all of that sort of stuff. Now, Julie, I know you've got some questions for me, so I'll be if you can get them ready, and I'll be answering them in a second in terms of the questions which we've got to come. So what I do when I read books is I underline everything, and then I like to share them with people. I'll take photos of them and that sort of thing. But this allows me to share the guts of a book in a few minutes, or in a much shorter time period than the hours it takes of reading it, because I love to read. Here's something else he says: getting rid of anything that can be done by somebody else, so that one does not have to delegate, but can really get to one's work. This is a major improvement in effectiveness. So there's some. Let me just see if there's any other gems in here which really stand out. Really, okay. I'm going to dig into the questions, and I'll come back to this stuff later. So, Julie, you there? You've got a few questions for me, I think.
Yeah, actually, I've just got a comment on what you were just talking about then too, because I think sometimes it's really hard. You said quite a while ago about only looking at your emails like 2 or 3 times a day and not keep checking them, so you have like a time where you go in and check. And when you first said it, I thought that was really impractical way to run a business, and now I think it's a really good idea. And the other thing is, I think sometimes it's easier to do your thinking in a big chunk of time away from work. So, for example, if you go running, which I do, but if you go walking or do something that's outside, if you surf, anything, you can use the time, and you don't deliberately think about those things, but while you're out doing something else, you can mull them over, and sometimes you come up with a really good idea or a really good strategy for something because you're away from the office when you're doing it.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really important distinction. When I went and saw, when I went and saw, I did Perry Marshall. I paid about $12,000 US or something to go and do a 2-day 4-man event with him a couple of years ago. And one of the things he actually encouraged me to do was to enjoy myself more, funny enough. And he talked about when he got the idea, I don't know if he's got an interesting Google AdWords technique called the Swiss Army knife for coming up with headlines. And he said he actually found that as a result of, going for a walk in nature. And what he said was he noticed that, on these, with these trees, they had, they couldn't get the nutrients they needed. So they actually had branches going down to the ground to suck into the soil, to connect to the soil, to get it that way so they could double the nutrients that they needed. So as a result of, of doing that, he got the idea. He said, what if a Google ad was as smart as as this tree? And then he came up with the idea of the Swiss Army knife, and it's a great little it's a great little technique. This Swiss Army knife technique. Hey Nick, how are you? Nick's the guy who knows optionality, who I got all the ideas of optionality off to. He's a genius who hides in his cave, sort of thing. So a very, very smart guy. So what we've got is so having fun, I think, is really critical, because what it does when we have fun, if we understand brainwave states, when we're having fun, when we're at the beach having a swim, when we're going for a walk in nature, what's happening when we're actually doing that is we're actually moving ourselves into the alpha brainwave. And what you'll probably find is that as you go into that alpha, those sort of states, is when you get your best ideas. People often say, "Hey, I get the best ideas when I'm in the shower," and that is often the case. So it's when you're actually relaxing and having that good time. I like to, when I want to go into thinking time, actually pulling away, go for a coffee shop. I'll take a couple of hours a week and have like me time. There's a book called The Artist's Way, and it talks about having an artist date, because it's critical we actually get in touch with who we are. Because we need to hustle, but what that me time and that time away and that time connecting with ourselves, what that actually allows us to do when we do that, and when we pull away, is it allows us to actually get the clarity, to hustle in the right direction. And I think that's critical. And we'll often get ideas that are literally very valuable ideas as a result of taking that time and taking that time out to ourselves. So I think that's very, very, very important. And the other thing I want to just touch on here, Julie, is to follow this isn't talked much about in in the business space, but I think it's really important that we follow what's light. And what I mean by that is, when you push into an activity, when you mentally push into something and you just feel like, oh, I just don't want to do this. In my experience, and in the experience of many people I've talked to, it's a sign, just, leave it, don't do it. Whereas if you push into something and you get super excited about it and you're like, yeah, this feels good. Like last week, I was thinking of the week, not last Friday, the Friday before, I went to I hosted a mastermind dinner in Sydney, and it felt really good to do it. And I just feel really good at that about that. And I feel if I do stuff like that, it gives me a heightened energy. And if I'm going in and I'm putting things into it for heightened energy, I don't know exactly what's going to come out of it, but I know when I'm putting that sort of energy into things, that good stuff generally comes back when I'm feeling really good about it. So yeah, anything else or any comments on that, Julie?
No, I think that's pretty much covered the things I was saying for that. Do you want me to move into the questions?
Yeah, let's move into the questions. Just before we do that, I want to touch on. I can't do it because I've got my phone there. I was going to get the photo. but I just want to talk about also listening to trends, and I'll talk a bit more about trends later. But there was something in the paper yesterday, and it was talking about you know, the trend. I mean, it was talking about how the most popular camera now is the iPhone. So and the smartphones. That's basically, yeah, the most popular camera right now is a smartphone. Now digital cameras years ago, if they spotted that trend, then they go, okay, we need to jump on to the next trend. And I've missed trends in my life. I've missed them, and you know they basically bite you on the bum if you miss them. So always be looking out and go, what's the next trend in my industry? What's going to happen next? You know, is there going to be an onslaught of other people who are going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing? Is there a way I can position myself so that I am magnetic to the, you know, to the marketplace? And I think that's it's always, you know, staying in touch with that and looking at that. So Pete's just said, in regards to what I was saying before, I love Kindle books and screen grab pages to share. And you know, totally agree. You know, I love the Kindle books; they're great. Apparently, if you look on my timeline, Nick put some things. Nick, who I don't know if he's still on here, but Nick mentioned, you know, he prefers the physical books because you actually learn better. You know, learn better from that. I haven't specifically done studies on it, but I tend to vary between the two. But you can't beat Kindle for convenience. I actually lost my Kindle a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't been using it for a bit. But yeah, you can't beat Kindle for, you know, in terms of convenience. It's absolutely brilliant. So you go on a holiday, take one book. It's great. You know, so yeah, no, the best phone in the world is the one you have with you. Absolutely, Pete. So I totally agree. So, and the best book in the world is the one that you're taking with you. So, yeah. So Julie, fire away with the questions.
Okay, so my first one is, I've read that creating brand awareness can significantly increase my marketing impact, but how do I create brand awareness around my business as an ice cream shop? I don't have the budget to take on the big guys. Ice cream is organic and locally made, and we need to be proactive over the next few months as they are our busiest times of the year.
Okay, so let's forget about. I mean, I wouldn't start with brand awareness. If I was an ice cream shop and really trying to get things moving, I don't think I'd start with brand awareness as such. I would start with, well, let's bring in some sales. Now, if your ice cream is organic, that's a big bonus. Do you know what I mean? So having organic ice cream, that gives you, I imagine, a differentiation in the marketplace. Like it's giving you that, you know, that positioning and that differentiation within the marketplace. So what I would suggest in terms of, if I had that sort of shop, I would start with, and you need to generate business, start with, I would write an article, and I'd basically say something like, let me write it for you. Let me see if I can do this. So you see, I basically say something like, you know, free ice cream. Not sure if you can see that. Free ice cream. And then I would say, I think it's too hard to do this. What I might do is write it and then share it. I'd say free ice cream, and then I'd say, don't buy another ice cream until you read this. And then I would go down. So we've got free ice cream. I'd put a 2-week, you know, maybe a 2-week maximum time frame on it, and I would distribute it to everyone in my local area. You could also put it on Facebook to your target market within your area. Yeah, don't buy. Yeah, and then I would talk about most ice cream is toxic, and then talk about the toxins in ice cream. Talk about the problems with having generic ice cream, because that's what makes you different. So I would be getting the studies and finding out what's in ice cream, what are the dangers in ice cream, what are the toxins that are in ice cream. I would be really stating that and making it clear the problems with most ice cream. I would be making that super, super clear. And then I would be saying, why don't you try the difference for yourself? For yourself, you know, get yours today. And you might talk about how wonderful it is, blah, 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 blah. So that's in a very bullet pointed sort of format. but that's basically what we're looking for. Is we're looking to really point out the benefits of, you know, your ice cream, and you're differentiating yourself because you're saying, hey, this is a problem with bad ice cream. Now, here's something you could do, which is really, really important. Actually, I'm not meant to do that. I'm meant to go, someone was telling me something, I'm meant to go like that or something. So, because it's that's what all the politicians do and are trained to do. But anyway, I'm not a politician, so please forgive me. But in terms of in terms of ice cream, you might work out, you might look at which customers are coming in, and you might go, you know what's interesting is most of our customers are customers who are coming in for their kids and they're buying ice cream for their kids. So then you go on Facebook, okay? And so, and on Facebook, I'm just looking around. I've got a really cool Facebook spreadsheet here somewhere. Yeah, there's a, you should Google this. You can't really see it there. But the complete guide to Facebook ad targeting, there's an infographic online. It's absolutely brilliant, like in terms of the stuff that it shares. But anyway, so what you like, you can target, like, have a listen to this. You can target expectant parents. You can target new parents. You can target parents with preschoolers. You can target parents with preschool kids. You can target parents with early school kids. You can target parents with teenagers. You can target parents with preteens. You can target parents with adult children, and you can target all parents. So you can target very, very specifically, but obviously, like a really good one, yeah, if you want to target, you might go, well, yeah, parents seem to love our work. So then you go down and you target parents with preschool kids, and you might have an ad. Yeah, is your preschool kid, yeah, eating ice cream? A warning to all preschool kids who eat ice cream. Bang, you look at that, you're like, what? And then it talks about the dangers of ice cream. And then after that, it says, come in and get one. Taste the difference for yourself with organic ice cream. Come in and we'll give you one for free. So you can, so you can taste it, so that you can taste it for yourself. And I would be going down that sort of angle, because brand awareness for the small business, here's how to get brand awareness. Make a heap of sales, because that will give you money, and then channel that in to more advertising and more marketing. So that's how you do it. Now, there's clever things you could do once you start to get the sales in from that. Like you could start running, you could start getting videos of, and posting them up of people saying, hey, I just love Claude's ice cream. I love Claude's ice cream because it's amazing, it's organic, it tastes good, and wow, it's just incredible. And you could create this whole hype. You might be able to get some sort of local celebrity. Well, let's say it's a local football player, a local, tennis player who's well known in your area. They don't have to be a huge celebrity. We're not talking about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. What we're talking about is a local celebrity in your area. So what you could do here is you could target a local celebrity with this information. Okay, that's what you could do, and you could get the local football star to get on there and go, wow, this ice cream's incredible, and then you could send it everywhere in that area. So that's something you could certainly do, and that would then not only build brand awareness but build sales. So we want to be thinking in tandem, because we're not Coca-Cola, we don't have the Coca-Cola budget, but we can build that up if we can get sales have to come through the door. So yeah, does that answer that question, Julie, or do you want me to get any more specific, or is there anything I haven't covered?
No, I think you've done an unreal job on that. I think that's plenty.
Yep.
Yeah,
no,
definitely would all work.
Yeah. No. Excellent.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, fantastic. That sounds
I've
good.
Okay, so for this one, it's a former journalist running a boutique gift shop, and she says, I have plenty of content to share online to promote my business, but what I don't know how to do is get people to actually read my articles. I would love some advice on how I can connect with my audience, because there is a lot of noise out there on the internet, and I think I'm getting left behind. I think this is something that, is a real problem, because a lot of us can work out how to get the content, and we know that we've got good content and that people will want to read it. if they can find it. But there's just so much out there. How do you direct people to read your stuff?
Yeah. See, what sort of business is she running?
She's got a boutique gift shop.
Boutique gift shop.
So it's, I'm assuming that, so it's like original gifts, handmade stuff that's local, that kind of thing.
Yes, no, absolutely. So what we look at here is we've got content. So the question is really, how do we get our content out? And leverage it and get it found is what we want to do. And there's a book. I'm just thinking if I've got it handy. I don't think it's within walking distance, but there's a book called which David Jennings wrote recently. David's a colleague of mine, and it's called Authority Content. And in that book, he basically walks you through his whole system on how to really distribute content, get it out there, etc., etc. And you can buy it online for not very much. It's reasonably, it's a book, so it's like, I don't know, $5, $10, $20, something like that. And that will really help with anyone who's got that content and doesn't know how to distribute it. I mean, one of the things I would look at doing is sort of look at also the type of content that people want. So if you go out there and you look at some of the search terms, do some research, you find out what people want, and base your content on that. If it's a gift shop, I'm guessing it's probably or potentially a local gift shop. So if it's a local gift shop, then you want all of that stuff to go local. So what you might want to do is you might want to try doing Facebook video view type ads, and then if people watch your video for so much time, you can then retarget them. And then retarget them back to specific products. So let's say I'm running a gift shop. If I'm running a gift shop, I might have a particular product that comes from Mozambique, and it was used by the Egyptian soldiers back in the 1770s. And then I could have, let's say on a Facebook platform, I could say something like, how this Mozambique, artifact used by the Egyptian soldiers in 1786 can help you sleep better tonight, for example. And then I could hold it up and I could say, hey, this is the Mozambique, Egyptian soldier thingo, and I can romance the stone. And basically I can talk about about exactly how this all works. And and I romance a stone and I tell an amazing story. What we need to get to be is we need to be really good storytellers as such. So I romance a stone, I tell the story, I get people really super excited about this artifact. And then I can once they've watched the video, I can then retarget them. Let's say anyone who watches the video for 30 seconds or more, I can retarget them with ads about this amazing artifact and then have sales copy based on that. Now, if I've got, 100, different products, I can then create, I could then go down. And if we look at what we were talking about before in terms of optionality, what we're, and the tomato seed concept, what I'm doing is I can do content on, let's say, a dozen different products and then segue them back in to and see which, and then see which ones get the best possible result. So that's something that we can do there, in terms of content. But again, encourage you to get a hold of, David Jennings' book. I mean, the benefit of doing this too, like let's say this Facebook Live video in terms of content, it will not die here. It will end up going on YouTube. And then I can end up, advertising it, and I can do all that sort of thing. So, really encourage you to look at how can I create this content, and then get it out there, and then you can obviously, promote it from different sources, as well. So yeah, that's something I would encourage. Anything I've Anything I've missed there, Julie, or anything I should zone in on?
I guess if you're going to put it up onto the Facebook, you've also got to then do your advertising locally in order for people to know it's even there. But that really goes back to what you said for the ice cream people, the same kind of way of doing it, targeting people within your area who are likely to be interested in your product. So she would be selling mostly to women, and I reckon she'd be selling mostly to women between like 30 and 60. I mean, she's a gift shop, so it's going to be mostly females going in there. So she'd want to target those people, if she was doing it on Facebook, to get them to come and read her content. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. So what she could do, let's say on Facebook, is she could run a video ad to 30 to 50-year-old women if they're in her target market and her sweet spot. And then people who watch the video ad, she could then retarget back to, let's say, a product offering. Do you know what I mean? So because what it is with the gift shop, if I watch a video and I get excited about it, it stops becoming just another gizmo, and it becomes something, exciting. And then when I see the ad about it, I'm like, hey, I need to get my hands on this. That sort of thing. So you make, the other thing I would look at doing, if I owned a gift shop, the other thing that I would like to look to be doing is, because a lot of this stuff's been commoditized now, a lot of like physical products have been commoditized. I would be looking to find some way to turn it into an experience, because what we're doing is we're moving into the experience economy. People crave experiences and they'll pay for experiences. So what you could do is you could like, let's say we talk about this Mozambique Egyptian artifact. We could say, hey, come in on, you could collect an email address, from all your customers who come in and buy, and then you could add them up to Facebook as a custom audience. You could email them out, and you could say, hey, on Wednesday, we have a guy from Egypt coming to talk about the history of the Mozambique Egyptian artifact. And that gets people really excited about the Mozambique Egyptian artifact. And then they come in and they buy it, and you get them in the store, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, obviously the same principles apply, because everything old is new again. It's still all about trust. It's still all about relationship. It's still all about engagement. We just need to look at how do we engage based on the current economy, the current what's going on in the marketplace. And I believe the way to do that, if you're in that sort of business, is to look at really targeting through great content, which sort of gets shared and people find funny and exciting and interesting and all that sort of thing. So we target based on that, and then we segue back in from there. So I think that is really the really the key. Then we come back into the sale, from there. So anything else I should expand on that, or any questions?
No, but you just made me think when you were saying about sending out an email and telling them that you're having the guy coming there and doing a talk, because the other thing she could do, she's getting a new group of gifts in. I find that a lot of people in small shops don't bother taking your email when you buy something from them, which is a mistake, because then or on Facebook, by the way, she could then say, oh, on Wednesday I've got a whole new batch of gifts coming in, and I have free tea and coffee. Do you want to drop by and have a look? And then she could make it an event instead of just putting the stuff out for sale. It's an event because it's got a new crop of gifts coming from Spot, that kind of thing.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think that's the key. We're moving. Roger Hamilton put some stuff out recently about, in terms of, that we're moving, less away from content. Like, your content should come out, should go out really, looking at for free, and then selling the events. So in that sort of case, she could have regular events. She could tie events in. Like, let's say the new Batman movie's out, or probably not for a gift shop, but let's say some movie's out which ties into this gift shop example. Well, then you could have an event, that's very specific. You could have an email out saying, hey, we've got a guy who's inventor of Batman. He's coming in to talk about, Batman and how he did this, or whatever. So you can tie into current social events with all of that, definitely. And I think that's always a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think that definitely, definitely works if we can, if you can, it's thinking outside the box. So you got the box. Want to think over here, outside of it, and going, and also considering what's happening in the marketplace. These are the things which we want to be really doing, is thinking outside the box, considering what's happening in the marketplace, and tying those sort of things, together. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think that covers that for her. So my next question is about discounts.
Yep.
It says, everywhere you look, there are discounts, which is true because they used to discount after Christmas, and already they're discounting before Christmas now. But what do we do if our margin doesn't allow for a big discount? How do we compete with other companies who are dropping their prices? We are a furniture retail store and are finding it increasingly difficult to compete with the importers who are obviously buying at much cheaper rates because they have greater buying power.
Yeah, I mean, there's two issues here. Well, there's a couple of issues, in terms of discounting. So, one is, when we look at discounting. So one of the issues is maybe you're in the wrong. Maybe you need to change your positioning and your positioning in the market, because you got to look at it from a customer's perspective. So if I can buy pen A. So we've got, actually, let me find two identical pens. If this pen in terms of discounting is costing me, $5, and this pen is costing me $2, they're identical pens, or virtually identical pens. Why would I pay $5 for this pen when I can get this one for $2? Okay, obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for this pen, because same value, equal price. So this is what it comes to with discounting. So what's happened in the marketplace from a furniture retailer's perspective is there's been a number of other furniture retailers come into the marketplace. So what we know that of, or what we would call that, is we would call that a threat. So there's a threat that's come into the marketplace, and is basically threatening to dominate that marketplace. So we look at it, we go, oh, there's a problem. Maybe we need to reposition. Maybe we need to go back to our customers. So this is what I would do. I would go back to my best customers. Okay, so the ones who know me, like me, and trust me, and I'd ask them 3 questions. Okay, so 3 questions. And I would ask them, number 1, what do you hate most, or what are your biggest gripes with the furniture retail industry? So what are your biggest gripes with the furniture retail industry? Okay, the second question I'd ask them, if you could walk in to the perfect furniture retailer, that had everything that you wanted, what would that look like? What could we offer you so that it was perfect? So they're the first 2 questions. And then, in terms of the third question, I would also ask, I've got a brain freeze. I'll come back to the third question in a minute. But we're looking at what are your biggest gripes, and what are, what would you, how would you have it if you could have it any way, that you could. And the third question, is, what can I do for you that will make your life easier, more profitable, more productive, that will make your life better? What can I do to make your business, your life better? So go to your customers and say, hey, I just got a few questions. I need a bit of your time, and can you answer these questions for me? And just go to them and find out, get a sense of what they say. And I would definitely encourage you, to do that, because that'll make what that's going to do is it's going to give you some really good insights. And I picked up this strategy from a book called The Pumpkin Plan. And in that, he gives an example, of that in terms of targeting the market. And he says that when you he asked this to someone who walked dogs, so dog walking folks. And what they found, within this dog walking, is they found that, when they asked them, the dog owners said, hey, I just want you to spend more time with my dog. That's what they said. So they changed the face of the business, and they started to focus on, we spend more time, we spend more time with your dogs, etc., etc. So you can imagine if there's a whole heap of dog walkers coming into town, you change your positioning and you start to you change your offering, and then you're not discounting, because business is all about supply and demand. Business is all about supply and demand. So if I need a pen and I can't get anyone, and I need to urgently write a letter to my, to my wife and send it because I'm going to die in like 10 minutes. I'm at war and I don't know, there's a big oncoming and I need to get this letter in the post because I want to write a letter to my wife and son. How much would I pay for that pen? I would pay for that pen whatever you asked. $1,000 for that pen. $5,000, $10,000. I would pay a fortune for that pen. Now, change the scenario. This pen, I'm across the road at the news agency. Coles is across the door. Okay, this one. What am I going to pay for this pen? I'm going to pay the least I possibly can for this pen. So that's why the positioning is critical. You've got to be able to offer something that other people aren't offering. Now, how can you do this? Let's say you're in the furniture store and you're like, well, this is what I offer. Well, you go to the customers, you let your customers show you, and you start to think. And that's where it comes, where you take a bit of time for yourself, you walk around, you mull, you circle it, and you go, what's the real opportunity here? How can I position myself in the marketplace so that what I have is in demand? Now, let's say with a furniture retailer, you go and your best customers say, listen, I don't have time to pick furniture. I don't know what to do to pick furniture. I find it frustrating and everything. I would love it if you could just come in and do it for me. And all of a sudden, maybe your business becomes going to high-end, high net worth people, and offering furniture to those people that's high net worth. So you're offering a high net worth offering to high level people, and you're saying, we do everything. You move into a house, and maybe it's new people who move into houses and they spend all the money. You move into a house, we'll come into your house. We will basically walk through your house, look all the way through your house, and we will tell you exactly what furniture to buy. And then we'll sell it to you and we'll deliver it. And we'll even bring a storage person in and you won't even have to think about a thing. All you need to do is agree with us that that's the right furniture for you. And maybe that's your target market and you get out of the commodity game. Because we all need to look at how do we decommoditize ourselves. Because if we're being asked that question, then there's a problem. If we're like, I can get it for $10 less down the road, can you do it? Can you offer it for $20 less? Then often it's a positioning problem. Now, of course, there are ways, for the short term. If you can build trust so that people like you and trust you. So I would start sending out letters to all of my existing customers. I would definitely look at doing that. Keeping in touch, having a regular monthly newsletter. I think that could help a lot with those particular customers. And I think, as well as sending out those regular monthly newsletters, we could also have. So we've got the regular monthly newsletters. It's sales skills. So you're asking the right questions and directing your customers to the right, particular thing. Because as much as anything, when you're in a furniture store, you're a problem solver. Well, I go in to pick a bed and I get confused out of my head. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you need to have a free report on how to pick the right furniture for your home, and you educate. And you send people into a funnel and you have email follow-ups and you build relationships and all of that sort of thing. Maybe that's what you need to do. So that these are different things to consider with your, if you're in that position. Any questions on that, Julie, or anything I could clarify?
Well, I think the idea of having people going into a home and choosing the furniture is great, because my brother-in-law had someone come to his house and tell him what colours to paint the walls, even though I don't know why he couldn't choose his own colours, and he absolutely loved it because he said, I had an expert come in and they told me. Then he paid a lot of money for their advice and he followed their advice. He painted those walls that colour. I think it's got really good snob value, because if you could say afterwards, well, we had so-and-so from there and they came in and they I know somebody else who actually did do this. They bought all their furniture from somebody down in Melbourne, and the guy came up there in Sydney. He came up with the container of furniture and he set it up in their house. He did their whole house for them. And I know they paid a lot more for the service than they would have if they just gone and bought it themselves. The other thing I'm thinking too for a furniture store, I mean, every season they bring in something different, like, or even if it's just summer and winter, they bring in, they change their the look, and they go towards, you know, keeping warm in winter and keeping cool in summer. So they could actually do a promotional event each season to get people in as well.
Yes, no, absolutely, and again, it's thinking outside of the box and digging into the bleeding neck of the customer. Do you know what I mean? Because your brother-in-law, he probably had a problem. He was like, oh, if someone could just solve this problem. And what we will pay for, we will pay for people who will solve our problem. You know, so if we've got a bleeding neck, we'll pay anything for a doctor to come and feed that bleeding neck. If we've just moved house and we don't have enough time and we're under the pump and we're stressed and we've got all these issues going on, we'll pay anything for just take the problem away. You know, all I want to do is walk into a fully furnished house and I don't want to have to think. You know what I mean? I'll pay you $5,000 for that. You know, I just want it done. You know, because, and if you're going after the right market, they might be like that because they're like, hey, yeah, we get paid, you know, they might be earning really good incomes and they're not price sensitive. So you move away from that price sensitive factor, which is what you want to do. You want to move away from that. And again, the reason I was holding that up, bleeding neck, is just to point out, you've got to go after the bleeding neck, and you've got to point out, well, where is the bleeding neck for my business and my industry? What is it? You know, what is the bleeding neck for my particular marketplace? And it's critical that we really, you know, that we get an understanding of this and we really start to think about, you know, finding that bleeding neck. So yeah. Any other distinctions on that, or is there anything I missed on that one, Julie?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much covers how, you know, to solve their problem if they're willing to do it.
Yes.
Have you got time for another question?
Yeah, no, fire away.
Okay, this person says they've heard discussion of having a proper sales process, but they don't understand what that means.
Okay, so
I think as far as marketing is concerned, yeah.
Yeah, so what does a proper sales process mean? That's the question. And I think, you know, I think the whole thing with a sales process is the question we want to ask. So we've got sales process. What does it mean? The question we want to ask is, what do they need to believe? That's basically the question we want to ask to flesh out a sales process. What do they actually need to believe? What do my customers need to believe to go from not knowing me from a bar of soap to handing me money? You know, because there's a certain amount of trust element that is required there. So let's pick an industry. Let's say a mechanic, something simple. What do I need to believe about the mechanic to, you know, to go in there and trust him and hand him money? One, I need to know that he's qualified. Okay, so qualified is number one. Qualified. Number two, I need to know that he's ethical. You know, number three, I need to know that, you know, he can do my type of car. You know, he can fix my type of car. You know, number four, so qualified, ethical, he can fix my type of car. So they're three sort of things that I need to believe. Yeah, he can fix my specific problem. You know, I need to know all this. You know, I need to know all of these sort of things. And this is just a simple thing. Yeah, but they're the four things I need to know from my mechanic. I need to know four different things. So if you're creating a sales funnel for a mechanic, well, then you might start off with, you might start off with, you could do it a couple of ways, but you could start off with offering a free, a free inspection of your car. You could offer something like that. You could offer something like a free, free report on how to, get your car fixed right. Or let's say you're a mechanic and you're focusing on Mercedes. You could have something like how to tell if your mechanic is qualified to fix a Mercedes car. So you could say something like that. How do I know if he's qualified? And then that's your first step. And then your second step, ethical. You might have testimonials from your clients in that. You might tell a story of how long you've been in business. You might do all of that sort of thing if you're an accountant. Number three, for my type of car, you could show examples of all these Mercedes that you've serviced. You could explain the difference between servicing Mercedes and another type of car. And then you could give examples of the specific problems that you fix. So that's a sales funnel, is asking the question, what do they need to believe? And then answering those questions and then covering those questions. That's essentially what a sales funnel is, because if they believe everything they need to believe to buy and you're targeting the right people, why wouldn't they buy? That is the process. And obviously there's lots of intricacies. There's lots of sales hooks with that. There's a lot of education. There's step-by-step process. There's building funnels. There's testing. There's measuring. There's doing analytics. There's a process to all that, to getting the right system set up. But that's essentially the process that we're looking for. Any questions on that, Julie, or anything I should clarify?
No, I don't think so. I think that pretty much answers the order of things, and then it gets a lot bigger after that. But really, what she's looking for, I think, is the beginning. Where do we start?
Yes, absolutely. So you write down all the things your customers need to believe in order to buy, and then work backwards from there. So write down your end result. What's the end result that you're looking for from these people? Then, what do they need to believe? And then create a strategy based on that. I mean, maybe you need to run a webinar. Maybe it needs to go to a free report and then followed up via emails. Maybe you need to make a free trial offer. So it depends on your business. For example, you probably don't need, in the ice cream example, you probably don't need to run a webinar to sell an ice cream. But if you're a high-level consultant, then you may need to do that in order to develop the trust and develop the relationship. So, and that's why word of mouth works so well, because when you get a referral from someone, they already believe that, to a degree, what they need to believe, because they're told it by their friend and they trust their friend, and you leverage off the relationship with your friend. But it's very hard to build a solid business based on word of mouth alone. So.
Okay, well, we've got one more question. Do you want me to go with that one?
Yeah, no, fire away.
Okay, this one is, how do I get customers to buy from me again? I own a shoe store and we seem to get new customers, but we don't do a good job of retaining previous ones. We have a retail store and also an online store, and we do get repeats from the online, but not the retail.
Okay, so online shoe store. I mean, the best example of that is Zappos, where they offer amazing customer service. So if I had an online shoe store, I would look at what or a shoe store, I would look at what Zappos is doing and model that to a T. I would go out and I would buy shoes from Zappos and see what the experience is, because they're obviously the world leaders. And this probably applies to most retailers, is look at what the world leaders are doing, look at what best practice is doing. Not that you can't improve it, but that's a really good place to start with that. And that could include such things as, and I think it was about getting second-time buyers and third-time buyers, which is really important. But that could include such things as, sending out regular newsletters, keeping in touch, regular emails, making yourself a bit of a personality. So it's not just about shoes, but it's about your life, and it's exciting and it's fun and all of that sort of thing. So it could include all of those different aspects, in terms of online shoe buyers. So that I would definitely encourage you to consider. The other thing is, you could look at, well, how often do people usually have a pair of shoes? So maybe they have them for 6 months, 12 months. Well, you could send a letter and out after 6 months and have this all sort of automated to a degree, and say, hey, what, are your shoes, you're due for a new pair of shoes, or how are your shoes going? Probably not you're due, but how are your shoes going? And then and then talk about the importance of keeping your shoes up to date and have a little sales pitch for a pair of shoes. So you could have an email going at that. So you could segment your list, and you could say something like, you could ask a questionnaire when people come in and get data on them, and then you could segment their list and say, hey, yeah, they bought school shoes, but this kid plays like 3 different sports. And then you could write them a letter and say, hey, I noticed you play 3 different types of sport. You play hockey, you play basketball, you play tennis, you play whatever, and zone in on that. So you play all these different types of sports. Did you know that, for running, you should have this type of shoe, or for this, you should have this type of shoe, and start to educate them about that. Now, this is a lot of work. This isn't just sending out a blast and then doing it, but it's like hard now, easy later, easy now, hard later. If you do the hard work now, it'll be easy later. So that's really critical to understand and to think of that. So they're the 3 things I will be doing. I'll be segmenting my list and doing research. I will be doing follow-up 6 months after they bought the shoes. And third, I will be really looking at, let's say, a company like Zappos and how they do customer service. And I would be modeling that sort of approach, and do something like a net promoter score, which is quite simple. If you Google net promoter score, a net promoter score is simply asking the question, how likely would you be on a level of 1 to 10 to recommend us or refer us to a friend? And if they go 1 to 7, they're what's known as a detractor. If there are 8 or 9, I think it's, you have to look it up, but if there are 7, I think they're neutral. If they're 6 or below, they're a detractor. Or if they're 8, they're neutral. I think if they're 9 or 10, they're like a big raving fan. And then you could look at the raving fans and really throw some energy into them as well, to maybe have a referral program through them. So again, all of this requires a certain amount of effort and work, but it's hard now, easy later. Whereas what most people are often doing, I think, in a shoe store, is they're probably going in there and they're just doing the day-to-day and not taking a bird's eye strategic view and going, well, how do we improve all this? Let's plant a few tomato seeds. Tomato seed 1, that follow-up letter. Tomato seed 2 is an increased customer service systems. Tomato seed 3, net promoter score. Tomato seed 4, and so on, and working out which tomato seed is actually giving us the best results. And this, over time, everything that we're doing compounds. Does that answer that question, Julie, or do I need to dig a bit deeper?
No, I think it does. I think probably also, if you were selling online to repeat, but not the retail, that means people not coming back into your store who've come in before. Maybe you need to look at what you're offering them when they come in as well, because it must be something that's not what people want when they go into the store. It's unusual that you go in and buy something and then you just don't bother to go back and buy a repeat thing if they're local to you and if it's convenient. I mean, that's what you do. You go back to the same place.
And this is where it involves jumping on the phone and talking to customers. Say, hey, how was your experience? What did you get? Like, don't be afraid to do that. I know I did something for a pest control company years ago, and we had a customer feedback form go out as soon as they had finished with that store. So or with their experience, and he said that was the best thing, because he got to know which of his technicians were doing a good job, etc., and what results he was getting, or how his feedback was, and he could nip it in the bud before it became a problem. And I would encourage doing the same sort of thing, where you're having this this customer feedback system to see what sort of, how customers respond to what you've got to offer. I think that is definitely critical.
Okay, well, I think that's the last of my questions that I've got here, so I don't know what else you've still got on your list to cover.
To cover, I just want to finish off by talking about a few things. Number 1 is trends. So, looking at trends, and really analysing, what are the trends happening out there in the world of business, in the world of marketing, etc., etc. So, if you get a chance, look up Roger Hamilton on Facebook. But he recently talked about some of the main trends in marketing right now, and just 1 or 2 that sort of spring to mind. One is content versus experience, which I was talking about before. So look at how you can make it an experience for your customers. Look at how you can sell experiences. You know, that is really the critical sort of thing. So if you run let's say you run a golf shop, why not, do golf days and golf tours and that sort of thing? Or let's say you run a baseball shop. Why not do a trip to America and follow the World Series for a week or something like that? That's the sort of stuff which you could potentially do and start to think about, hey, how can I create experiences? How can I make things an experience? Like a shoe shop. How the heck can you make a shoe shop into an experience? Well, I have no idea, but let me brainstorm. Let's see how well I think on my feet. So you could, to start with, you could have a process whenever someone comes into your shoe store where they're given a wet towel and say, hey, wipe yourself down, relax, take a seat. If they've got a child or anything there with them, you could give their child, some, little snack or something to snack on with the parents' permission. So you could do that sort of thing where you're giving them something. In addition to that, from a shoe store perspective, what you could, so you're going in and you're like, hey, this feels great. It's like walking into first class. Look at what aeroplanes do and what is first class in an aeroplane. Look at that. That's like, that's like pretty cool. So you look at, hey, what do aeroplanes do? What's first class on an aeroplane do? And make that into your shoe store. How cool would that be? So the other thing that you could do is you could look at your market and you go, hey, our market, think outside the box, like you might have, because you bought a pair of shoes, you could have a letter. Let's say you have lots of school kids, because you bought a pair of shoes, we're bringing in, Ricky Ponting to come and talk about, let's say you have a relation or someone, to go, or maybe it's a local cricket star who's really well known, or football star, to talk about something completely unrelated potentially, but drives people into the shoe store and you develop a relationship and a connection based on that. So think experience. I'd really encourage you to do that. So the next thing, email marketing is dropping. So we want to think about, well, how can we still tap in and hold people's attention, via things like apps, via things like Facebook groups, via things, via other modes of attention. I still think email marketing is like the cockroach of the internet, and it's going to be here for a long time. But just like radio and TV and all of these markets, they dropped over a period of time. So radio, TV, they got affected, by the internet and by newspaper and so on. So, or TV affected newspaper. So we got to look at what are the new trends. I mean, 3D. I mean, 3D technology, yeah, but the virtual reality. I think that's going to be a trend. And what we need to be looking at is, it's like if you got on board and really establish yourself when Facebook or YouTube or one of these mediums come out. And I didn't understand this at the time, but you want to come out and you want to be number one in a new medium. So let's say virtual reality comes out. I would encourage you to go, well, how can I just go out there and be number one in the world of virtual reality, in the Facebook virtual reality, which will no doubt come out over the next 3 years. So looking at what are the trends in the industry and how do I dominate, come across and dominate. Because remember, it's supply and demand. So if you can go out there and be number one in virtual reality, the virtual reality social media, when it comes out, you've got a lot better odds of doing that than being the number one in Facebook, for example. So keep that in mind. Other trends and this I don't know how you're going to take advantage of this as a marketer, but like drones, they're huge. Go and look at what magazines are are out there. So I went into the newspaper news agent yesterday, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to get this magazine on drones and just find out what's happening. I don't know how to take advantage of that. But when you get ideas from different places, it's so powerful. So let's say with drones, they're doing amazing things. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and in terms of drones, what they were finding was that when people go into, let's say, like firemen, rather than going in and having no idea when the place is smoking up, they send a drone in to find out where the people are, what's going on, etc., etc. And they zone in, they find what the problem is, and they pull those people out. So that's what they're doing in terms of in drones, and then the actual person goes in and grabs that, gets that person out, but they're not having to go in and potentially risk their life when a drone can do all that for them. So there's stuff like that. There's drones doing a lot of real estate stuff. Is that a potential for the future? Is that, could you get into training people in drones or whatever? There's stuff, because you want to be in a market where the trend is upwards, not where the trend is downwards. You want to get into that sort of market is really key. So think about that. Keep your head on in terms of drones, and and then I would also finish by really think about what we were saying earlier about taking some time out sometimes throughout the day just to enjoy yourself, be present, really get a sense of what's what's happening. And then and then following what feels really light, what feels really good, and see where it see where it leads you. Because a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the power of intuition. Trump, Oprah, Jobs, and Jobs even talks about following what's light. He went and did a calligraphy course. I mean, how is a calligraphy course ever going to help you? But he went and did it when he was young, and what he found was that then calligraphy, now you've got calligraphy on Microsoft Word and whatever, who stole it from the Apple, or should I say not stole it, who modeled it from, let's say, Apple. So it comes in, if you start to follow your bliss, as to speak. So Julie, unless there's anything else, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Any final questions or any final things that you want to touch on, or want me to touch on?
No, I think that we've. I think it's been an unreal session. I think we've covered heaps. I can't think of anything else left now to bring up for this one.
Yeah. No. Awesome. So, well, I think that's it for guys. If you've got questions, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, what about this? What about that? Or there's something you'd like me to cover in a future Facebook Live episode, then just let me know. Happy to dig in and answer those questions. So bye for now.